In this video, I'd like to show you how to open and get to the insides of the C187 and C159 RC ERA helicopter. Here specifically, what I need to do is to replace the motherboard. This is the board I bought, and it's the EC135 C187 integrated flight control board. So this needs to be replaced because this helicopter is acting erratically, and I did replace the motor after a crash because once it crashed, the motor started smoking. So I am expecting that the board is damaged, so that needs to be fixed. So the first thing I always do is I take off the main blades. Again, if you know how to do this, fast forward, but I just want to go through the whole thing here for those that don't know how to do these things and want to learn. These tiny helicopters are great learning platforms for many people who are new in this hobby. And then you'll just move on to bigger and better helicopters. So I basically took the 4 bolts out, took the blades out, and now I am going to use a flat head and basically turn the flat head to just pull this out. This is a friction fit. There's no bolt or anything. You just pull it out. There you go. It just comes off. Remember the direction. This is the direction that it was. I mean, the painted side is on the outside, but remember that it's just pushed back in later. Okay. Next, we take out the 2 bolts down here to get the landing gear out. And what I'd like to do is to set aside all the screws. I just put them in one place per part department. Meaning if it's a landing gear, I put all the landing gear in one side and the rest of it elsewhere. So this is the board I'd like to replace. Unplug it. Okay, so let's start by taking these screws off with a Phillips head, small Phillips head. Again, putting the screws somewhere you don't lose them. There's screws here, here, here. So you got to open all of them. And in order to break it, pull it apart, you have to take the screws off on both sides. Make sure you take all the screws out. It's easy to miss them. And some of them don't want to come out, but just unscrew it and it'll and when you pull it apart, make sure you don't lose the screws. Some are stubborn. Again, I've flown this guy a lot, and maybe that's why it's time for some maintenance. Okay, keep going. Again, if you want, you can just fast forward if you know how to do this. But we're going to take all the screws out. side too. These front screws are the small ones. They're shorter than the rest. Remember that. I can feel it coming apart. And then here is the motor. You have to take this up, open this up to access and remove the motor, because you can't, it won't open otherwise. And some of these screws don't want to open for some reason, but we'll have to just pull it out a little bit. Okay, so here you see the motor. The motor just basically slides out of there, and you can unplug it. See this? See that connection? Just have to unplug that, okay? And it only goes in one way, so you don't have to worry about that. Just take this out and set it aside. Now you can try to pull it apart if you open all the screws. I think we did. Okay, there you go. So, and again, you see the screws fall out. So make sure the ones that didn't come out, you take out. You can also use a flat head to pry this open. Don't do it too hard because it might damage the edges of the fuselage. Okay, so it came apart now. I'm going to look for any screws that I might have here. There's one, might have missed. There's another one. You see this guy? It's basically still in there. You push it out, so it drops out. Any more? I don't see any more on this one. So here's half of the fuselage, and here's the other half. There might be more screws in here, but no. Okay, so here you could see the opening, the internals of this helicopter, C187. This is the wiring for the motor, okay? And then the light comes up here. And then you have the 3 servos, both aileron, pitch, and elevator. And then the motor sits on that side, the gear, and this is the on-off switch. If this model had optical sensing, there would be another device here, but this one doesn't. And so, okay, so we just have to take this out. I think there's one screw left. Yeah, there's one screw left here. So open that guy. Okay. So this comes apart. And you have to slide that out. There's a cover on here. Make sure you don't lose that. That goes on and then it goes back in. So I'm gonna put that aside here. Okay, so here are the internals of this helicopter. So what we want to do is we are going to change this. Like I said earlier, I did change the motor before because it burnt, it smoked. The famous, you know, the white smoke came out of it, and I replaced the motor and it worked. Now this is having problems, so I'm going to remove it and reinstall a new one. So remember where everything is, because that's going to be very important as to where everything plugs in. Okay, open this. Here's the it's a little different, but we'll have to figure it out. off is here. So this is the plug for the battery. It goes in the back. You see that thing? There's a plug there inside. Okay, well, there's always a surprise, which is good. I'm thinking these three are the servos. These are the other things. We'll check it out. We'll have to once it's out. So the way you take this out is you take your flathead and basically pry it out. I'm not going to use this again. It's going to go in the trash can. No idea what's wrong with it. Comes out. Okay. And you see this. This is the switch, on-off switch. So I think we need to turn it backwards and to open these two screws as well to take out the battery connector. These little guys are really sweet. Sweet helicopters for indoors, winter, you know, cabin fever, assistant. All right, so unplug these wires. Hopefully this is the motor. First one is the motor. Okay. I'm going to assume it's the same configuration. Okay. Second one is the tail motor. It's the tail motor, or lights. It's the tail motor. Third one is the lights. Okay, let's put that in right now. First one. Here's the lights. Tiny. And you see these, the connectors. You make sure that the connectors are the same side as the plugs. Otherwise, you're going to bend it. So it goes this way, backwards, not the same as the one I took out. So let's do this as well, same thing. Need to make sure they plug in properly. And then the motor is the last one. When in doubt, always check and don't force it in. If it doesn't fit, make sure you try to, you know, take a look at it and fit it properly. Okay, so then we have, this is the guesswork. So we're going to give it a guess. Okay, we'll figure it out later, but I'm going to take the first one, put it in this one here, first one. Second one, same thing. Put it in the second one. Second plug. Again, you can't always assume that these small manufacturers have a real standard. They probably go out and spec out a board, and whatever they get, they get. It's not going to be identical once you want to replace it. So I'm not really surprised here. And then the third one we're going to try here. It's probably the elevator. And proper configuration. There you go. And then what's remaining is this. You gotta just put the, so here you have to gently pry this one out and let it and turn it and slide it through that gap. There's a gap there. Slide it in, and so it comes out the other side. Oh, I might have to open the... Oh, we may have to take out the elevator servo. Okay, that's not a problem. Let's put these screws over here. Okay, take out the elevator servo. There's 4 screws here. That holds the servo in place. Don't lose the screws. Very easy to do because they're tiny. In fact, I always get a set of spare screws for each of these models. It's so easy to lose these screws. Oops. Dropped my screwdriver. Okay, so these 4 screws go there. Gently lift this, and you can pry up the servo. Okay, and take out and pull out the battery connector from under here. Not the easiest, but it is the way they've done it. Almost out. Easy does it. There you go. So here's the old board. Put that aside. Now, we have a new sticker. What I'd like to do is clean off this. So you want to get it as level as you can, sitting on this platform. You can just use your nail or something sharp to just pry this tape off. Okay, put this new tape on, but don't take off both sides yet. Just take off one side, and it was on each side, so do the same thing. One on this side, one on this side, and the other will go on the other side. Come on. Okay. Other side. Just like the one you removed. Okay. Next, you want to put back the battery connector through that same hole. Just you need to just be patient. Just slides right back in. Don't push it too hard to bend. Don't bend any of these connectors. It's hard to fit your battery if you do. So if you turn it a little bit, and then it just goes right in. Okay, and once that's in, I'd like to fit my servo back in. Put the servo back in its place. Okay, that's it. All right, and take the plate that you took off, put it back on. Make sure you don't damage any of these wires. Servo wires go around this. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, inside is... I don't like it inside. Let's take it out again. Put that around that screw connection. Slide it in. I think this is, nope, you gotta, it need see the wings on the servo or the screw points? It needs to go in that slot right there. You see that? It's a nice fit, but this guy keeps binding in there. I don't like that there. You got to take that out. I don't know if you can see this, but you got to be careful not to cut any of these, and just put it on the side, on this side. Okay? And then we'll fit the cover back on like it was. I have the screws here, one at a time. Don't tighten it all the way, just a little bit, and then once all the screws are in, you can tighten it. And crisscross, so you can get it nice and flat. Like put that one in, then one across. Just like when you change your wheel on a car. Now go around and only hand tight. Don't make it too tight. Just hand tight, very gently. Okay, now we have. Now we got to put this back in. Make sure there's enough wire space. You're gonna have to just. It'll just sit right on these. You have to take off the adhesive paper. You may need a tweezer for this, but I just do it with my fingers. Tweezer would be better. Come on. Gosh. Come on. It's gonna play games with me. There you go. Okay. Bring it down. Try to put it as straight as you can while maintaining the level. Okay. That's that. This is the antenna. Okay, so now we got to put back the connector. Slide it back into the positions, the two sliding facing up, because if you see the battery connection is on the top of the battery, so this also needs to be in the top. Okay, just slide it back in the slide in its position, and then we'll put those two screws back on. Okay, my batteries are ready. Okay, so let's do. It may take a couple of tries. Okay, it's a friction fit, so you just push it down. Hope you saw that. You see that? Now you take those two screws. They have a built-in washer on the screws. You just put it on. It holds the connector in place, pushes it down. Don't tighten it too much. But anyway, so that's how it looks. Replaced. Oh, and this, you see, it's not level. I wonder why. This, ideally, I'd like that to be level. Let's see why it's not level. Maybe there's not enough wire there. You want this level. See, right now it's not. This is not going to be, I mean, it's going to, when we do the trim, it'll fix it, but I'd rather not have that. Maybe there's not enough wire there. Let's give it more wire. So what I did is I pulled the wires a little bit so it's a little looser. But it seems like one side is a double. What the heck is that? Oh, why is there one? Did we put the wrong one here? Anyways, this needs to be level. So let me try to fix this. Don't do this. Make sure it's level from the first. I know why one side was higher than the other, but that's not a problem. I'm just going to use my own. I'm just going to use my own tape. Hang on. Okay, I went ahead and installed my own tape here. These are gyro vibration dampening tapes. So I added that, and also I fit the, you could see the on-off switch here with the oval plastic on it. It slides into this slot right there. And these wires, make sure they're on this side of this connect point, this screw point, so that it doesn't slide into the gear accidentally. Okay, next step is take your antenna that came off. You can put that antenna on here. You can also glue that in with some rubber cement or something so that it doesn't fall off every time when you open it. So you carefully put the halves back together. Sometimes you get lucky and you have it all connected right away first time. But I like to start from the bottom. And another trick I've learned is to put this screw in first. The couple of screws that really help you are the front ones. It guides the rest. So I'm just going to try to push this in. There you go. It clicked right in place. We got lucky. And the rest of it too. Once one of them goes in, the rest of them goes in too. It's nice. It's a good feeling when it snaps in place. Okay, so from here, we just go ahead and put all the screws in. But before that, make sure that it's lined up here. You know, you want to make sure that the helicopter, the screws where they're supposed to go are lined up. And one way to do that, like I said, is you take the screw for the front, which is the smaller screw. Look for it here. It's this guy here. Okay, take this and just put it in for now. It sets it so it doesn't move. Okay, I'll just start putting the screws back in. I'll start with the front so that it gets in. needs to grab it. Didn't grab it properly. I'm not doing it. Maybe that's not the right screw, but let's see. Push that in. Okay. Just continuing with the screws, trying to get the right. There you go. This one tightened up. I already put the other side, put the screws on the other side. So let's just keep going on this side, finish it off. And you'll know if something's wrong, because it won't screw in. As I said earlier, I normally like to order a set of these spare screws for each model. They come in handy because these are easy to lose. I'm just going through each one. Tail screws. You might say, well, how come his tail fins are different than mine? I cut these because it broke. The blades hit mine and it broke, and now mine looks more like a H145 instead of a C135, or even an H135, the Airbus version. But that's why it looks different. You could do that too if you break yours. Just cut them off and sand it down. It looks like a H145 or 35. Do I have one in there? I might have one in there already. So where am I missing? Here. There's one there too. So where are we missing a screw here? So we have one here. We weren't missing anything. It was just this motor screw. So you slide the motor back in. You connect the wires in the right direction. Make sure you don't bend the tiny wires there and the tiny connectors. They're sensitive, so if it's not going in, don't force it. Make sure it's the right direction. The cap goes on, and there goes the screw. And finally, we put the skids back on. Come on, go on. Okay, she's not cooperating. Well, let me take this one out of the end and let this one settle in, and then we'll put it back in. So if you tighten some stuff all the way, it doesn't allow the other part to go in. So you loosen it, and you do it again, it works. Okay, and we put the cover back up. Fits well. And then put the blades back on. Put the tail, slide the tail blade back on. Friction fit. And bolt these back on as well. You don't want to make these too tight. Just enough. Otherwise, the flight controller is not going to like it, and it'll do weird oscillations. So just tight enough, not too tight. So it should be just like that. Like when you push it, and they all should be the same. I normally like to put the ones directly in front of each other first and then go around. It's a little tight. Okay, that's good. After this, we're going to go ahead and tune the helicopter. First, we have to calibrate the gyro, the normal, the conventional way, by pulling both controls down to the bottom left, and then we would take off and do the gyro leveling procedure, which sets the internal gyro leveling. Once we get a nice hover, we will save the settings, and that's it. Do a test flight. Okay, here we go. She's all ready for testing. Okay, so now we're going to calibrate and do a test hover. Turn the radio on first, then the helicopter. Okay, we will bind. First step is do a regular calibration to the left. Do it again. So it's calibrating the gyro. The next is your hover leveling. You're basically setting the trims in the gyro by holding this down. This flashes. I'm going to take off, and I'm going to trim and level the hover. it's all over the place. Right now, take it up higher and trim to the right. Left a little bit, forward. A little wobbly. I hope it's in the camera. Okay, it's hovering pretty nicely. Okay, and then I accept it and land. Okay, once you do that, you have to turn her off. Turn it back on. Bind. And let's see how let's take off. Okay, land it. All right, so I think this was successful. She needs more tuning, but I think I'm going to go back and adjust these. Okay, go through the same procedure, but that's how you basically replace components, by opening and closing the shell on this helicopter. I hope it's been helpful. Thank you. Okay, here's the post-repair test. I bound it, so we're gonna take off. Bring it down. Looks good. Hands off. That's stable enough, and then land. That's it.